Come on, go. Yes! Oh, we made it. Those of you who are new here, this is my project Triumph Spitfire that is far from stock. And that is the reason why. That certainly doesn't look like a little Triumph engine, does it? Hey there guys, my name's Mason, and welcome back to another episode of Misplaced Garage. This is an engine out of a JDM 1990 Mazda Miata. This is just a little 1.6 liter, but it should make this car a lot faster from the factory, like 30 or 40 horsepower. So this battery is actually dead as a doornail. So we're gonna try and fix that and charge it up maybe. Because without battery power, we don't really have a car that I can do anything with at the moment. So we're gonna get this sucker charged up, make sure it's still got oil in it, make sure it's still got all the necessary things that I'll need to get it moving. Sorry for the abrupt disruption, but do you guys mind leaving a like and comment? It goes a long way for me as a creator. We'll get right back to the video now. And I'm sure you guys are wondering what is kind of left on this project, which there is a lot, but there's also not a lot at the same time, considering this was my first engine swap that I've ever done. And I've got that over here on the whiteboard. And what I've got left on here is, this is kind of the general consensus. This isn't everything. This isn't a binding list of what has to be done and what doesn't have to be done, but I need to leak test the brakes, make sure that those can function how they should. I believe I left it off on a good note and there was no leaks, so that's great. It was 100% brand new brakes from me, so I trust my work, but I also want to be sure that it's not going to let me down. The next is something that I already mentioned, which was a transmission tunnel. That's on the list. I need license plate lights because the lights back there are not hooked up whatsoever. I don't even think that there are light bulbs or housings in there, so I have to come up with something there. Need a drive shaft. As I mentioned, the drive shaft was just, it's been a major pain in the butt because I've actually called companies, I've ordered from companies, and none of them, they all end up saying, we can't build this for you because it's too small, or we can't do this for you because blah 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 reason. So if you're a drive shaft company, let me know if you want to make a tiny drive shaft. Otherwise, I'm going to be making it myself, and it's probably going to be kind of sketchy, but that's okay. I need new wheels and lug nuts because these wheels are completely trashed by the previous owner. They don't hold air, but the main reason is somebody bored out where the lug nut goes onto the wheel, so it doesn't actually center the wheel on the hub. It just kind of floats there. So that's not really good. It's also going to need a proper dash setup. I made a temporary like 1/4-inch plywood dash in there just to get some instruments in there so that I have a place to put buttons and stuff just temporarily while I cruise it around, but it will need a long-term dash. With the dash, I'll need gauges. That's on the list. Some good set of gauges so that I can know if this car is overheating or something. Fuel tank vent. This does need a fuel tank vent because I don't want the gasoline trapped in there, and then once I'm driving it, all of a sudden it hydrolocks in the gas tank, so fuel can't come out because air is stuck in it. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering who the heck puts a Miata engine into a Triumph Spitfire. Like, yes, it is just a little bit more horsepower, but why wouldn't you just put a V8 in it? And I've actually got a list of reasons why I did not put a V8 in it. The first reason is the price point and availability, which, like, buying a Miata engine with a transmission is extremely cheap. And you can find them practically everywhere in the country because there's literally hundreds of thousands of Miatas across the US. I know in other countries they're probably a pretty darn popular car too, because they are literally like the world's #1 sports car. The second reason I have here is because it's just too big. A V8 is just way too large to put in this car. Yes, I know you can do it, but the amount of modification that you would have to do to the chassis would no longer make this car what it is. And this car was meant to be a lightweight little sports car, which I think I have successfully retained that property of this car. I didn't want something that was nose heavy, that would just steer awful. I'm sure there are light V8s out there, but those ones weren't in the budget for this car either. And like I was saying up front in there, the chassis is not really made to handle much horsepower. That engine maybe makes like 100 horsepower and 100 torque. So it's not that much more. It's still worrying for the rear end, because I know people blow the rear end of these cars out with just a little bit more than factory horsepower. So we're gonna be driving it and hoping it doesn't explode. I'm sure it will eventually, but I did change the oil in it. So it's got awesome oil in it now, so it shouldn't explode, but I'm not gonna put my hopes up. I know I was just talking about how the differential might explode if you put too much power, but Miata engines are cheap to turbo, so that is another reason why I chose this engine, because I can turbo this and pretty much make double the horsepower it currently makes, which would be about the same horsepower as, like, say a Ford 302. Those only made like 220 horsepower to the rear wheel. So 200 horsepower out of a little Mazda engine that weighs half the amount that a like Ford 302 or Chevy 305 did. So that's also huge. If you guys are stoked to see this car back in the garage, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will get more of this content to you guys. See you guys in the next one.